Hi, this is my review of the Star Trek Voyager Endgame, the series finale. First time I saw this, I was just getting into Star Trek. I would only watch maybe two-thirds of the final season of Voyager when I was getting into it. So I didn't understand a lot of it, and I didn't understand that Voyager's whole goal was to get home. I just watched it, not knowing much about it, other than the main characters, the ship, what was going on. So, first time I saw it, I was pretty green when it comes to Star Trek. I found it very entertaining. Um, it opens with Voyager flying over the Golden Gate Bridge, or should I say under the Golden Gate Bridge, with fireworks and a huge crowd watching them. And then we see a news report with uh, the reporter saying uh, that this is old footage from 10 years before. That and they also give more key information that Voyager had spent 23 years in the Delta Quadrant, and that the entire Federation was very interested in the ship, and that they survived that long and somewhere so hostile as the Delta Quadrant. And then we cut to see Admiral Janeway, older, much older, and then it just ends the scene, goes through the intro. Next thing we see is the reunion. That confused me a little bit, but only because I didn't know the characters very well back then. Now that I watch it again, now that I don't want to sound self-absorbed, but an expert on Trek. I've Voyage is my favorite series, but the part with between Harry and Janeway, even when they're not talking about Tuvok, it's great because now they're on more personal basis because he's a captain, she's an admiral. It's about time we get to see that where he's not a young ensign and she is a captain that's probably twice his age. And there are a few more conversations between other crew members, and I thought the part where um, Commander Barkley, Reg, where he made that speech, I was blown away that because if you know anything about Lieutenant Barkley, he's not very social. He stammers a lot, and he doesn't do well in front of crowds. When he made jokes and he toasted the crew, I was amazed. I loved that part. And then it cuts to Barkley and Janeway in the classroom. That was cool, especially because a couple of those cadets kind of ended up being bigger stars. I won't name names, but it was cool to see Janeway teaching about something she knew so well, like the Borg. And when she hinted to the fact that she'd rather not talk about Seven, that kind of gave you an idea that she was killed. And I didn't quite pick up on it right away, but eventually I caught on. When Janeway goes to her office, and when we see that half Klingon or quarter Klingon, part human, on the view screen, and I kind of saw the resemblance between her and Balana, so I suspected that was Merle. But when at the end of the conversation said "Good work, Ensign Paris," that was that was great. It was a little. I mean, they could have done without that scene. A little frivolous, but it was good. I skip ahead a little bit to when Janeway visits Tuvok. We don't know what's going on with Tuvok. They didn't explain anything about that. So we're left to speculate for half the episode. And that he had that neurological condition. I thought that seeing him a little bit older and kind of he lost his mind, that was really creative on the writer's part. And when Janeway hints or doesn't come out and tell him that she's mate is probably not going to come back alive, but Tuvok understands because when he throws that fit for the doctor, I mean it was him talking about a different memory, but I think it was his way of trying to tell them that she's in trouble. So when Reg or when the doctor goes to, you know, basically question Reg about what happened, and then Reg starts stuttering again because he has to lie. That was, I mean, that was a shot in the dark, but it worked perfectly. Having him kind of revert to his old self back when he was on the Enterprise, that was kind of an homage. But when Janeway meets with Koloth, no, I can't remember his name, but he's a famous Klingon warrior. And we find out, we kind of piece together what she's planning. And then she ends up stealing the device because he's kind of going back on their deal. And then she gets chased by that Negvar. In fact, it was two Negvar class ships. One thing leads to another. She runs into Harry on that Nova class science vessel of his, the Rhode Island. And then after she convinces him to let her go, he leaves, but she contacts him because the Negvars found her. So he comes back and defends her until she can get through the temporal rift. What confused me, maybe not so much confused, but pissed me off, is that no, like I said, Nova class, they're a science vessel. If you remember the Voyager episode Equinox, those things were designed for planetary research, not tactical missions. So I think the Rhode Island against even one Negvar class warship was outrageous. But two, I think that was just plain outrageous. And then I'll continue this in part two.